Okay, so a really important part of any haircut is the consultation. And I really need to talk to her and really understand her, and before I start. Because some clients are like, just do very, 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 very little bit, and they'll freak out if I do anything more. And some people say cut whatever it needs. So I need to know that from her. So how would you like your haircut?
A group.
Very sweet.
Like half an inch to just a shrimp.
She's a chicken. And I already know that, right? So I'm going to be really careful not to mess her hair up because I want her to come back to me. We used to say this, we cut for their ego, not ours. Even if I see that she needs this much, whatever she told me to do. And she said half inch. How much is a half inch? Like this much?
Exact.
So that's better for me to reconfirm. Her half inch might be this and mine might be different than her half inch. So it's always a good idea to give a visual and to confirm it with her. That makes her feel more comfortable because their energy comes to us. If they're nervous and skeptical, and then I get nervous. I don't know if it happens to you too, but whatever their energy, if they're relaxed, I'm relaxed. When they're stressed out, it stresses me out, and I can't wait to finish that haircut. The comb. Her hair is thick and heavy. This comb is not flexible. It can handle all her hair. The regular ruler back comb that you guys have in your kit, that would hold her hair or be able to control her hair. Better control for me is using something like this. So I'm going to look and see her length. And I'm going to ask her to tilt her head down, and I want to see the shape. I think she has a V shape, or not a shape, maybe a U.
Yeah, but I don't mind the V shape.
But if I do a V shape, that means I'm going to have to cut more than a half inch on this corner. So, see? Because if I do V, if she says, I don't mind V, but then she sees this much coming off of here because I'm going to have to do that to make it a V, she's going to freak out. So she said, forget it. Uncross your legs, please, and look down. And then the first snip that I do, I'm going to show her what came off of her hair in my fingers. So I'm going to hold it the way I think it was held last time. And I'm going to show her. This is perfect. Okay. So now she's even more relaxed because I just confirmed to her, I understand what you want, and I'm going to give you what you want. So, when I've never cut her hair before. I don't know how it was held. She loves her haircut. She just wants a half inch trim. So in my mind, I'm going to keep a half inch in my mind the whole haircut. If I notice that I pick up a section, it looks like I'm going to cut an inch, something is wrong. Maybe I'm holding it wrong. Maybe I better comb it a different direction. So I want to pay attention to that the whole time. I want to make sure I'm combing nice, even tension, and I'm bringing it down, and I'm looking for my guide, and I'm keeping in mind, sorry, Susan, keeping in mind the half inch the whole time. And here, especially if it's a U and bring everything back to me, that's going to give me an A, right? If I stand back here and I pull all the hair here, it's going to end up being longer in the front and shorter in the back. But she wants a U, so I need to keep moving with every section that I do. So I did the middle. Now I'm doing this little section here. And I didn't section her, but if you need to section, section. Sectioning is for control. So if I can control her hair without sectioning, good for me. If I can't, I better section. That way I can, know exactly what I'm doing. I could see what I need to do. So maybe you guys in the front can see this. I don't think the guys in the back can see it, but I'm following my guide. I'm holding it at a true 0. I'm not elevating. Watch out for earrings because sometimes clients are wearing the earrings that are higher up. You can always ask a client to take off their earrings. Here I don't see my guide, so I'm not going to cut yet. Let me back up. Maybe I'm moving too quickly. There it is there. And what if her last haircut was longer on one side and shorter on the other side? If I'm going to cut a half inch, and one side is longer and one side is shorter anyway, if I'm going to cut a half inch, I'm still going to be one side shorter and one side longer. So if I notice while I'm cutting that it's off, I might say to her, this side's a little bit longer. It's about an inch longer than the other side. Do you mind if I cut it? But if I fix it, I'm going to cut 1.5 inches on this side, not just half inch. Is that okay? Most of the time they'll say okay. I so badly wanted to fix his hair, but he so badly didn't want me to. So we ended up not fixing it. There's a reason for everybody's madness. You know, we know what we like. Sorry guys, I'll turn around in a minute so I'm not in your way. So of course the front is shorter. You could look straight now. The front is shorter, so I'm going to be angling my fingers this way. So if she says cut a 1/2 inch and my fingers are like this, here's a 1/2 inch on this side, but there's more than a 1/2 inch on that side. That means that's not the way it was held last time. I'm going to have to curve my fingers to follow that angle that it was held in last time. So make sure. She's layered, so I'm not worried about the parting. But if she wasn't layered, if I'm just doing a true zero, I would definitely have to fix my part and make it perfect. But right now I'm not worried because I'm just cutting the perimeter. I'm going to get in and cut all of these strands anyway. That's why I didn't part it or care about that part so much. It's going to get cut when I layer. So I'm angling my fingers, keeping in mind 1/2 inch. And we were just talking about this earlier. It's very important to palm your scissors. Otherwise you could slice as you're combing. And State Board wants you to palm too. So this is cutting position with your thumb in. And when you take your thumb out, that little grip will sit right in your palm. Do you see how my palm is keeping it closed? And then this is combing position. So cutting position with my thumb in, take my thumb out, lodge this right here in my palm, and then it frees up my fingertips, and this is combing position. Because if it's open, I can slice hair out, but also I've got 2 sharp points here. If it's closed, they've beveled the edges, so it's round. So I want it round. It's safer in case I hit her by accident. You know, then it's safer than 2 open sharp points. So palming. When you do the State Board haircut, they are grading you for palming. So I haven't started any layering yet. I'm just going around the perimeter to cut her zero. Let's do this side. Look down. The reason why I have her look down is so that I can get a true zero and so I can untuck all those strands of hair underneath. Sometimes they're under the cape or whatever. So this way I can untuck everything and I can stay at a true zero. I'm going to look for my guide. You guys can see it on this side. My middle guide is where I started. And I'm ready to take it from there. And again, I'm moving in front of my work. You know, in a salon, you're going to do these all day. Trims. Once you've established, you're not doing, you know, changes on a daily basis. You're doing trims on a daily basis. You're doing blow dries on a daily basis. So you really want to get comfortable with hair cutting and blow drying, especially, because that's a daily. Curly hair, you cut the same way you cut straight hair. Oh, well, you and I talked about this the other day. Or wet. If she says, she has really curly hair and she says, I'm going to flat iron my hair and I wear it straight every single day, then I might have her, or I might blow dry it and straighten it like she likes to wear it and then cut it while it's dry. Because that's going to show me exactly what I need to cut. But if she wears it curly and sometimes straight, I have more control when the hair is wet than when it's dry. So I would rather do it wet. So the only time I would do it dry is, again, if they've got one situation naturally and they wear it in a different way every single day. Let me just go ahead and get this out of her way, out of her face. Put my ceramic strip in there. Almost done with the perimeter. And I am going to take a piece of this side with me, because that's going to be my guide for this side, just so I can make sure that I'm doing the right thing, that I'm following her guide. There it is there, and that's the 1/2 inch. So you've got the outside perimeter done, then you just go in and get a guide about 1 inch wide on the top. This is going to be my layer guide. And I'm taking it far back enough to the crown. I'm taking it, you know, how do I know where the crown starts? If I take a comb this way and I take a comb this way, exactly where they meet right here, that's where my crown starts. So I want to take a guide that takes me back to the crown, because then I can use that guide for the back. I'll show you what I mean. Her layers are super long.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, and I want to keep them that
No,
way.
you can do whatever design you like on it, as long as it's not too much.
I like it. Okay, because I think they're too,
Because you got the length where I want it.
yeah. Okay, let's see what we can suggest to her. Can I do this?
Yes.
Yay! So I'm pulling it forward. What's going to happen with the layers if I pull it forward like that? They'll be longer where? In the back or in the front?
In the back.
In the back, exactly. Just check my guide before I move on. So I'm combing it forward. I'm kind of connecting it from her fringe, from the bang, the long bang, or the fringe, basically, back. Okay, so this is my guide. Now if I divide this in half, I'm going to have a guide for the right, a guide for the left, and because I went far back enough with the crown, I've got my guide for the whole back too. So I'm just going to go around and connect the top guide to the length guide. But, okay, remember how we leaned it forward? When I leaned it forward, that means the layers in the front were shorter than the layers in the back, right? So can I use this guide for all of these sections here? No, right? I'm going to use the guide here for this section, the guide up here for that section, and the guide here for that section. But in the back left and the back right are the same length, right? So I'm going to use that same guide that's right in the middle in the crown for all of the back. And then when I get to this side, I'm going to use this guide for this section and that guide for that section. I'm not going to use, I'm not going to use a traveling guide. I'm going to use a stationary guide. So I'll show you. So right now I'm using a stationary guide. So I'm going to take a section from the top to the bottom length. But I already cut her 0, and I cut it that 1/2 inch. I want to drop some of this. This section here, you might not see too much hair being cut, because that's like where the widow's peak is. You might not see anything, keeping in mind 1/2 inch. So that section is done. I'm not going to use that section's guide. I'm going to take a piece of it to help me here. I'm just going to let it go completely, take the next section, and then I'm going to drop my 0. How much of the 0 depends on how thick the hair is. I want to drop enough of the 0 that I leave my length, that I don't cut it again by accident. And what angle is this? Is this a 90? Is this a 180? Who cares? All I care is that my fingertip guide and my knuckle guide are going to match. So let's see, if I hold it this way, for example, can you guys see my little guide right there? Mm-hmm. If I hold it this way, I'm not really seeing my knuckle guide. That means I need to go higher. Let's see, if I comb it a little higher. There's my fingertip guide. And can you see my knuckle guide right there?
Yes.
I've already dropped my 0, so I don't have to worry about me cutting a hole in the bottom length. So I'm going to go ahead and take that off.
You have 2 guidelines now.
2 guidelines. Always, always, always try to have a guide where you're going from to where you're going to. So I'm picking up my next section. I didn't use the first one at all. Pick up the next one, drop my 0, make sure I dropped enough of the 0, and again, I'm going to look for my top, my knuckle guide and my fingertip guide. Here's my fingertip guide, you see it? Mm-hmm. And then I just have to angle my elbow up a little bit to connect the 2.
how do you decide if you have to use a stationary guide or travel guide?
So the reason why I decided that it was this. Because if I use a traveling guide, I'm going to make all her layers this short. So then I knew I'm not going to use a traveling, I'm going to use a stationary. But in the back, like we said, this side is going to be even with this side, so I'm going to use the same. So now, the whole back, I'll show you. So this whole back section, I took out the sides. The whole back section is going to be cut with that same guide, that one in the middle. I'm going to take pie sections. Every single section is going to start from this point here. Can you look down? This is her guide. So every section, I'm going to use this guide. So I'll take pie sections, making sure that this gets picked up with each of my sections. Okay, so my first section. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
So I'm going to take a section and I'm going to drop my guide. How much of the guide? Depends on the thickness of the hair, the color of the hair. She's got such dark color hair that I could drop a little bit of hair and be able to layer the rest. But if she had really fine hair, I might drop more. So here's my fingertip guide, and I'm going to angle up, and there's my knuckle guide. So now for the back, before I drop this one, I'm going to use this one. I'm going to use a traveling guide now. So before I drop this section, I'm going to take half of it. Put my comb where my guide is and take a pie section. Now I can go a little lower. Drop my zero. And you notice I'm moving too. I'm moving, it's like in front of me this way. So I'm moving around with my hair, yeah.
Your fingertip guide is the one that you make.
That I made here, yes.
Which one is your knuckle?
The one, okay, so when I dropped my zero,
That's the zero.
the lowest piece that I'm holding, that's my knuckle guide.
Oh, so it's not a guide. It's just like the extra hair that you're gonna cut.
That I'm not gonna cut, that I'm gonna cut to. I don't want to cut that guide, but I'm going to cut right to that length, whatever that length is.
So you can go in and if there's one top, you don't cut anything of that, just the hair in between.
Yeah, I don't want to cut that piece. I want to cut to it. I've got this guide and this guide. I'm not going to cut either one of them. I'm going to cut what's in between them. And when I'm holding this section, I'm not going to gear it to the left or to the right of where it grows. I'm going to hold it straight from where it grows, just maybe elevate it up. So, of course, I'm not very comfortable the way I'm standing. I would have lowered her, but so you guys could see. So here's my, so now I have a couple of guides. Let me pick this up again. I have my knuckle guide. I have my fingertip guide. And I also have my see-through guide of the section that I just did. So that's why I'm using a traveling guide in the back, because that's going to help me with all of this hair to make sure I don't make a mistake. Before I drop this, I'm taking half of the old, some of the new, starting from that same top point, drop my zero, hold it parallel to where it grows, look for my fingertip and my knuckle guide. If this is too much hair for you to hold, subpart it. So if I have my fingertip guide, I have a knuckle guide, and if I move that over, I have my see-through guide. Half of the old, half of the new, some of the new. Drop the zero. How big are they? As much as I can control. So if I take maybe a ½ inch wide of the old section and maybe an inch of the new, but it's whatever you can control. If she has dense hair, she's got a lot of hair. So if she had finer hair, maybe I could take bigger sections. If she has thicker hair, I would have to take even thinner sections. But whatever I can see through. If I can see through it, it's thick enough. If I can't see through it, maybe then I took too much. Some of the old, some of the new, drop the zero, and pull it up. And I want to have nice even tension, especially on curly hair. Because if my tension is not even, I'm going to have different lengths. almost done with the back. Then I will not use my traveling guide anymore. And give your comb a little head start so it'll help me kind of say, oh, you better angle your elbow like this or your fingers like this. If my comb is right next to my work, I'll show you. Well, let me show you something first. Now I'm at this transition area where I'm going from the back to the sides. If I pick this up to cut it, I might have a hole right here. There's not enough hair there. So I'm going to drop my zero in an angle so that I can leave enough hair there. Now, let me show you guys. If I continue to take straight sections and I cut, I might have a hole here because I took a straight line. But if I angle it this way and I drop my zero, now I know for sure I'm not going to have a hole there. Because you're working in the back is a different situation than on the sides. It's a totally different situation, so you have to transition. This is your transition area. I'm still in the back, but I've got to transition it. You can see clearly, yes? Yes. If I didn't see my guide, I would reverse. So if I'm lost, if you're driving and you're lost, go back to where you started from. So if that was too thick and I didn't see my guide, I drop some of the new, go back, pick up my old, find it, and then say, oh, okay, then I just took too thick of a section, probably. Okay, now I'm on the side, so I'm not going to use my traveling guide anymore. It's a different section here. I'm going to use my stationary guide. This guide here for this whole section. Drop my zero. Fingertip guide, I need to move it over. Let me clean it up because that was a big section. I felt it kind of slide out of my fingers. Done with that section, I'm moving it over, I'm not using it. Take the next section, drop my zero, also here around the face. Let me show you this part. If I'm working on this section here and I pick up all of this, I might have a hole right here. You can see that there because of the way her hairline is. I might have a hole here. So when I pick up this section and I drop my zero, I'm going to drop it like this so that I know for sure I'm not going to ruin anything there. I already cut her fringe. I don't need to cut it again. Guide, knuckle guide only, there's no see-through guide here. Move that one over, and here's my last section, which usually the last section there's not much to cut at all. Why do you think there's not much for me to cut here? How come I don't have anything to cut here?
Because you already took from the center.
Yeah, I already took it from the fringe, and then if you remember when we did our layers, we went by that length. We didn't really cut much here. We cut more here. So yeah, that's why. Okay, so I've done the haircut, but now I have to go back and check it. So I started on this side. To cut it, I'm going to do something opposite. If you take vertical sections, check it horizontally. If you take horizontal sections, you can check it vertically, and it'll show your mistakes. Or I went from this way to this way, now I'm going to go this way to that way to check it, something different. Don't do the same thing to check. Because here I didn't cut too much, remember the length was an issue, so I'm just going to go through and see if there's anything I need to clean up. Or connect. A lot of times you'll see something that needs to be cleaned up where the transition area is from the back to the sides because it's a different situation. But I'm dropping my zero each time. Are you okay? Am I pulling on you?
Nope, not at all.
Okay. And I'm keeping in mind that 1/2 inch the whole time because I don't want to, although with the layers we went more than 1/2 inch, but I shouldn't have to fix, see like that I have to fix, but it won't be big, large amounts unless I completely skipped a section. I'm working on a round surface and my fingers are straight. So obviously when we work on a round surface and our fingers are straight, you're going to have some corners to clean up. And so that's what I'm doing now, is going around to clean up corners. I shouldn't be cutting too much hair. If I do, maybe it's here at the transition section. Let's see. Not too bad. A little bit of cleanup. I see something here. My guide is right here, and my fingers slid through my guide. So when I saw my guide, I moved my fingers, then I cut, instead of staying right there. And that's the whole point of checking. And I check, but I also have the client check. And some clients will measure and really get into it, which is fine, because I'd rather her measure and check it in my chair where I could fix it for her than for her to go home and get in the mirror and comb it and notice a big long spot and then never come back to me. And it's a work in progress, especially with a new client or with color with a new client. You might not get them exactly where they want to be the first time, but it's a work in progress. So if I cut it and it's not short enough, she'll tell me, I'll fix it. Until her and I connect and we both agree and she's happy and I'm happy, I don't want her to leave my chair until she's happy. Almost done checking. And then, like I said, I'll be done checking, but then she needs to check it. And sometimes we're so perfectionists. We are perfectionists. And let's say I cut it and I did a beautiful job. If I pick up that same section and I hold it a little different, is my line going to be just as even?
No.
No. Don't kill yourself trying to, every time you comb it, try to make it perfectly even, because it's not going to be. So trust yourself, and as long as you know there's not a big discrepancy, you're fine. So then I'll hand her the comb. Please comb it and check it and let me know if there's anything else I need to do. And I'm watching her as she's doing this. Oh, look, she's measuring. And I'm sweating.
Thank you. Perfect.
Yeah, it's good.
Perfect.
Okay, the
Yes.
layers are okay.
Perfect.
Okay, good. If she kept doing this and
Yes.
she's saying, yeah, it's good, yeah, it's good, yeah, it's good, that's her hand gesture is telling me something's not right here. So I will say to her, do you want me to check that side? Let's check that side and see. There's something there that you're not, satisfied with, or whatever, and I'll check it. And usually there is something that she's not satisfied with, so I want to check it. Okay, so then we're done.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.